for regional integration. The summit, South Asia Economic Summit that he hosted, set very high standards for the cities. So, Posh, you have the floor.
Thank you, Dr. Chaturvedi. Well, let me start with the wise word of Dr. Bhattacharya. Well, his conclusion was South Asian think tank are well placed to engage on issues of sustainable development, and he also rightly identified the activities of South Asian think tank, like policy dialogue, analytical research, and also working on issues of data and contextualizing SDG in South Asian context. But he pointed out some weakness of South Asian think tank, like the issues of quality. And also, we don't recommend concrete actions. These are some of the problem with the South Asian think tank. And why it is so? Maybe during our MDG period, we could not put MDG at the forefront of our institution. And maybe SDG issue was simply a residual activities for our institutions. That could be the reason. We could not produce good quality report with actionable recommendation. So my proposal is, okay, we all think tanks, let's have some unit in our respective think tank. Or if it is not possible to have unit, okay, let's designate some of our officials as the champion of SDG. And in our case, in Saudi, we have established Saudi Center for Sustainable Development, and Excellency Ambassador Gyanchandra Acharya has kindly consented to lead that center. So maybe, we can focus our activities on SDG. And the second thing, well, Dr. Dev, he proposed to have this network of South Asian, a network for SDG, SAS, isn't it? South Asian Network for SDG. Well, my proposal is South Asian Alliance for SDG. I'm not an student of literature, but maybe network could be a loose term. When we say alliance, then we are also supporting, think tank, each other, we are supporting with each other. That could be a broad, I don't know. But another alternative would be alliance for, then again it comes South Asian Alliance for SDG. So again it comes SAS. It's the same
acronym.
And the second point I would like to highlight is our Niti Ayog Vice Chair, he proposed to have some sort of dashboard for SDG. Maybe, we can maintain South Asian think tank. We can maintain that dashboard for SDG, and we can put, say, research and what kind of research we are doing, where think tank has been engaging on issues of, and that could be, maintained and fed by the concern, this think tank. And maybe, possible, SCAP could provide, some sort of secretariat for that alliance. There we'll have this all kind of information. If we are having the problem on data, okay, we'll put over there. And if we are doing the research activities, if there are others related document, we can put all those, upload all those from all of the country. That could be one solution. Well, we do one activity. Okay, thank you. I stop over here.
Thank you. Thanks. Professor Posh Pandey. I think this session was very interesting, extremely useful. I see that we are already running out of time. And of course, I see patience is also running out. So I think just whatever I gathered from all of my panelists here, I have tried to put that together in the 4 points that I had raised in the beginning, and that would help us conclude as I get Dr. Nagesh here on the dais when we get into a quick conclusion of the session and the day. The first, of course, was the point in terms of the very idea of knowledge gap, and everybody realizes the fact that there is need and there are opportunities for us to bridge the knowledge gap. Somebody has suggested even the themes, but definitely SDG related data access, analytical research, and quality of research that needs to be improved, as Professor Pushraj Pandey emphasized. More focused approach probably would help us move forward with the quality research. I got here some brochures of RIS. We have launched some efforts on capacity building. With help of India's Exim Bank, we do a 10-day summer school on quantitative techniques in international trade theory and practice. We can broaden it up and include a program related to some of the techniques that are required. But even within SDG, RIS has launched an ITEC program with Ministry of External Affairs. We are getting diplomats from all different countries, and this time we got 40 diplomats in the first program on SDGs. We would be very happy to extend it to all our South Asian partners for a more focused approach, and it can be part of whatever name we give to our network to become a sort of a partner with that training program. So that's all about my first point related to knowledge gap. Institutional dimension and framework. 3-4 very good suggestions have come on the table. As Professor Kundu mentioned, a few think tanks are known, but we can make a sort of network, and that's really the idea. So as I proposed in the beginning, we would start this network with select very few think tanks so that there's a nucleus. We expand our activities. When we deepen them, we can bring in more actors and we can get into it. The idea within the institutional framework of virtual secretariat is extremely important, which Abid Bhai suggested. I think is important. It can be housed at the local UNSCAP office here in Delhi. We can all provide support. I also see your point in terms of institutions identifying one person as contact point for spearheading the activities. So that is well taken. The third point about modalities and activities, again, 4 very interesting suggestions have come up. The first is reinterpreting SDGs for South Asia. A report on this for the HLPF next summer in New York would be absolutely important and very timely. The second report that we can think of is in terms of report on South Asian priorities for SDGs and how South Asian development cooperation can address that. The point that Professor Kundu raised in terms of focusing on inequalities while we are working on SDGs is equally important. Last but not the least, I would like to bring in here that when we talk of modalities and activities, we should also expand the ecosystem, and we should not remain confined to exchanges among think tanks, but we should also leverage strength of other networks which have come up. And yesterday in the concluding session, we did refer to the parliamentarian forum that has come up, and the speakers forum which is very actively engaged on issues related to sustainable development goals. We also have SAARC Secretariat here and BIMSTEC Secretariat. They both are playing an extremely important role. The possibility of cooperation with them may also be explored, and the group's complementarities with with even, as Dr. Nagesh yesterday mentioned, about the strength of the private sector, which Sanyukta had raised. So I think it would be important to leverage that. And I think the other important dimension which I had mentioned, and Niti Aayog of our India has initiated some work program on cross-border development projects. So such efforts and reports can also highlight positive dimension of our cooperation in the region. So Tripura, Bangladesh example came up. Similar exercises with Sri Lanka are also on. With Nepal, they are already working in terms of cross-border development projects. So we can capture them as well as part of our efforts. Issues related to health sector, as I said in the morning, could not come up. They are extremely important. A South Asia-wide sectoral effort, if it can be launched with help of WHO. And I think external agencies, particularly UN agencies, can play an extremely important role. And there again, Dr. Nagesh, your leadership getting these agencies together on traditional knowledge-based medicine system, on modern medicine system. In one of your seminars, we had explored possibility of connecting our clusters in the indigenization of the health sector gadgets that we produce. So Sialkot, a cluster for surgical instruments, and Bangalore ICT, they can be, if connected, we can have some sort of production networks. So they all would be contributing to different dimensions of SDGs and taking us forward. On the last, the idea of naming the network also came up. I think both these suggestions are extremely interesting. My recommendation would be that we ponder over it, and good that Debuda has suggested us. SAS is a very, very appropriate, I think, depiction of how important SDGs for everybody is. And SAS is a word, I think, well understood in Nepal, India, and I'm sure, I don't see Bhutan, but definitely I think Bangladesh and Pakistan and India, we all understand SAS. So it's there. Sri Lanka, I hope we can make you understand what we are talking of. But anyway, at this stage, we defer that decision. We would take that call.
Advisement.
We would do a bit of crowdsourcing on that. And let me quickly open the floor for a few minutes for intervention, any suggestions, ideas that you want to give, and then we would have to close it in few minutes. I do not see any hands coming up. Oh, Excellency, please. Yes.
Prepared by Independent South Asian Commission on Poverty Alleviation. We call it SACPA, okay? SACPA. So, well, Dr. Saman Kelegama was from Sri Lanka, and two of us were also the commissioners from Nepal, and there are a couple of persons from Pakistan, of course, from South Asian countries. So what we merely tried to do was, we worked pretty hard for several months and prepared a document called SDGs. That was South Asia Development Goals. You know, it was for 5 years. As rightly said by Dr. Bhattacharya, it was just to complement to MDGs goal, you know, the achievement of the MDGs goal. So with regards to today's comment, Dr. Bhattacharya, that you said we need to reinterpret the current SDGs into South Asian perspectives. If that's the case, the kind of methodology that was adopted, the kind of indicators that we developed, I vaguely remember it was livelihood, health, environment, education, and so forth, you know. So there are significant targets and several goals, couple of dozens of goals. So if we go very quickly through that particular report, which is lying idle at SAARC Secretariat. Because in each of the SAARC member countries, that particular report, based on the directives given by the head of the government of SAARC during the summit, it was indigenized in the national planning by the planning commissions of each of the countries. Dr. Jilulur Rahman from Bangladesh was one of the commissioners. We worked together. So I would suggest that that particular report be reviewed when we intend to reinterpret SDGs into the South Asian perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Verma.
MC Verma. I was at a think tank earlier for 6 years, that is ICRIER, and I have worked with a lot of international organizations. You have already mentioned the importance of the health sector. I want to reiterate and re-emphasize that health sector requires a lot of regional cooperation, especially in terms of dealing with epidemics, pandemics, and all kinds of other things, including cross-border pollution, and which also affect the health of individuals. But we must also cover in the same thing why stunting takes place and what are the solutions for that. Because in India also, the number of stunted children is very high. It's around 1/4. May not be as high as 1/3. And therefore, all that must be covered within the health sector. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Verma. Yes, madam.
Many congratulations for this excellent initiative. I think it's much needed. I would just reiterate 2 or 3 points. I think it would be important to keep the compass very much focused